Are the LEGO Star Wars mechs really that bad? Let's talk about that. Hello everybody, the Brickologist here with another LEGO Star Wars review. Today we're wrapping 3 new LEGO Star Wars sets into one video. These are the brand new mech set. Today we have set number 75368 Darth Vader mech with 139 pieces, set number 75369 Boba Fett mech with 155 pieces, and finally set number 75370 Stormtrooper mech with 138 pieces. Each of these sets individually retails for $15.99, about $16 here in the United States. And I gotta say, the box art looks pretty solid, and I like from the back of the box how they have advertisements for the other sets in this little mini series. LEGO doesn't do that much anymore, so it's kind of a breath of fresh air to see it here. Of course, each mech gets its own individual instruction manual. Darth Vader's here has 71 pages of building, Boba Fett gets 87 pages of building, and the Stormtrooper has 77 pages of building. And at the back of the manuals, all 3 have the same advertisements for the rest of the August 2023 wave. Not the best wave of LEGO Star Wars sets here, only a couple of these made my top 10 sets of the year list. If you want to see the rest of that list, click the upper right card to watch that video. After 3 very short builds, we now have the complete collection of the first wave of LEGO Star Wars mechs, and these things are interesting to say the least. Each set comes with its own unique minifigure, so let's look at those here quick first. The first minifigure here is Darth Vader himself, who has the exact same immaculate printing we saw with the TIE Bomber and the Emperor's Throne Room duel set from earlier this year. However, there is one change this figure has that makes it actually, technically speaking, exclusive to this set. That's including the more crinkly, starchy type of material for his cape as opposed to the softer cloth material. And I gotta say, that was not a good decision because it crinkles when you put him inside the mech. Other than that though, great printing underneath the helmet, great back print as well, so a really well designed figure. I just don't like the decision they made with the cape. Our second figure here is the original trilogy version of Boba Fett, and maybe his best LEGO figure yet, despite the fact he does not have the shoulder cape. This figure's printing is absolutely fantastic. Look at the arm detail. That is so good. The leg printing, the torso all work out as well. Great face print underneath the helmet and a good back printing. This is a brilliant Boba Fett figure, and the fact that he comes in a $16 set makes it so much better. Finally, you get a Stormtrooper with some very good updated printing and that 2019 remolded Stormtrooper helmet that I just don't think looks good. Honestly, it looks comically large if you ask me. Good back printing, decent face print underneath, but overall, definitely the most boring figure of the trio. Let's begin with Darth Vader's mech, and despite the fact that Lord Vader is by far the tallest and most imposing character of these 3 in the films, this is actually the skimpiest of the 3 mechs. Going from the ground up, the legs here actually have a pretty slick design. I was kind of surprised with these techniques. It's very sleek and it looks pretty solid. The little greeble details are nice, and I like the accents of dark red you see throughout this build. That gives it some nice flair. However, I think the arms kind of overdo the dark red. It's a little bit imposing to the Darth Vader-ness of this build, and the rest of the design for the arms here just looks off. I just don't like the shapes here. It's all over the place. But the other arm is holding his lightsaber, by far the most interesting part of this build. It's a brand new piece. It's actually different than the one we saw with the buildable figures about half a decade ago, and I really like it. It looks very cool, and I'm excited to see what LEGO might be able to do with that part in the future. The torso uses that piece we've seen on quite a few LEGO mechs for some years now, and it has an absolutely fantastic 2x2 printed tile with Darth Vader's middle section from his actual torso I love that. That is a brilliant print. And of course, this section can fold down and there is plenty of room to put your Darth Vader figure inside there, which is very cool. But like I mentioned in the minifigure close-up segment, it is kind of crushing his crinkly cape, which is a massive issue. I hate that. Fortunately, I don't hate the fact that there are two clips from the back here that can hold Darth Vader's lightsaber. Very cool. I'm going to quickly run through the articulation on the Darth Vader mech here, and it applies to all three mech designs because they had the same kind of base for the builds. Basically here they use the Mixel ball joints at the hips and the shoulders, which is fantastic, gives it lots of range of motion. You also had the same ball joints for the feet, which is fantastic again, and also really helps with posing it and getting it into good stances. I really do like that. There are fingers that move here, which is fun. However, because they use these newer Ninjago joint pieces, there are no knees and no elbows. There's also no wrists, so it's kind of limited with articulation. It's not horrible, you can definitely get in some good poses, but I just can't help feel there could have been more poses, especially with the weapons when there's no wrist articulation. It feels a little bit hindered. Mech number 2 here is Boba Fett, and there's a lot more girth with this design, and I really like it. The legs and feet here really doing it for me. I love the spikes on his shoes. This design is very slick. I love the color scheme as well with the sandy blue and the school bus yellow. All of that just comes together for a really great leg design. Luckily, the arms also deliver great part usage, more of those colors, some additional colors like dark red and brown. I love the design on the side here. Everything about these arms really works. The right arm is even holding a blaster, which looks very good in my opinion and actually has some articulation, which I quite like, and there is a stud shooter adding some playability to this set. Speaking of playability, Boba Fett's jetpack is present from behind here, and it looks really cool. And like his buildable figure counterpart, they actually add a flick fire missile for the rocket launcher, which is 1, accurate to the source material, and 2, just a really fun play feature. Finally, like Darth Vader, Boba Fett also gets a fantastic 2x2 tile with a really good print for his torso, and that armor piece does open up to fit your Boba Fett figure, even with his jetpack part. There's also clips on the side to hold his weapon. All of that just works really well. Last and unfortunately least is the Stormtrooper mech. They really committed to using a lot of cylinder pieces with this build, and I just don't really vibe with it. The feet look perfectly fine, but the legs just, I don't know, it's a weird shape, man. It's very off-putting. I'm not really crazy about what LEGO decided to do here. And unfortunately for me, the strange design continues exactly onto the arms, which just looks so bizarre. The blaster works out okay though. It's very similar to the Boba Fett design and also has a stud shooter, so that's not half bad for play value. The torso of this one just also isn't as good as the other two, because instead of replicating how a Stormtrooper's armor looks, they just have a printed Imperial logo. Not a bad part to have on a 2x2 white tile, but it just doesn't fit with the other two mechs. However, it's still easy to put your Stormtrooper figure in the mech, and there is a clip for the blaster, which is nice. Finally, the other two mechs had some slight detail from behind. This one gets absolutely nothing, and it just looks horrible and very unfinished. Bringing everything together, let's pose the question once again. Are the LEGO Star Wars mechs really that bad? My honest opinion is no, these aren't horrible. Now, I completely understand why many LEGO Star Wars fans completely scoffed at the idea of these sets. These are non-canonical. There's no beating around the bush. This obviously does not exist within the Star Wars universe, and it never will. Also, additionally, there aren't mechs in Star Wars, so giving characters mechs just feels very un-Star Wars. But here's the way I view it. Microfighters are chibi, stylized designs that aren't really canonical either, but they're fine because they're not supposed to be taken too seriously. View these mechs in that way, and I think you'll get more enjoyment out of them. Ultimately, the designs aren't half bad in my opinion, especially Boba Fett and Darth Vader. I think they're pretty well constructed besides the articulation issues I pointed out earlier. Additionally, all three of these mech sets come with a new minifigure in some way or another, which is cool, and they're made for 6-year-olds. 6-year-olds don't have a ton of money, so having cheaper sets like this on the market is important in my opinion. That being said, the price of $16 is definitely a hair too much. I think these would have been better around $12 or $13. Luckily, they are $12.99 right now on Amazon, so either order them off that website or price match at a store that does so, and you're definitely gonna get a better deal. So my final verdict for these mech sets is a solid enough rating of 6 out of 10. Definitely nothing to write home about, but I also don't think they're anything to heavily judge either. Those are my thoughts though. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. Also, while you're at it, please subscribe to this channel, comment on the video, hit that bell for notifications, and find me on social media, links in the description below. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Have a great rest of your day. Peace out, God bless. Bye-bye.